Hello, Steve White, Steve White's 89. Well, Warner Brothers, they've been sold by AT&T. Basically, they were talking about merging this Discovery Channel and Warner Brothers, but they're out. They just sold the whole thing. Now, I hadn't been paying much attention. I've sort of been in denial. I sort of grew up in this wonderful era where we had like all the big studios like Paramount and 20th Century Fox and Warner Brothers and MGM and they just made movies and they had their own TV shows and everyone was happy. And then at some point once the streaming started, people started to panic and sell things off, and 20th Century Fox was sold to Disney, and then they just took it apart and totally it's got no value now. It doesn't exist. It's just gone. And I've kind of been in denial of the fact that 20th Century Fox is gone. MGM, I think the same thing happened to MGM. Someone bought that and that's gone. I mean, the content survives, but once it's sort of been broken up and distributed around other, it's just disappears. It's just gone. But yeah, so it's a bit of a mess. Because AT&T bought Time Warner like 3 years ago for like $85 billion, and they had plans, and their plans didn't work out. And they apparently just said, "Yeah, no, we're just going to get out." So they've got a $43 billion deal with Discovery, and they will end up actually, getting rid of the debt and actually gaining some actual money, because they're very top heavy and in debt is what the way I've heard them be described. And yeah, it's I don't know what's going to happen to all these companies that are involved, like HBO, CNN, OWN, HGTV, Warner Brothers, everything that was under them or involved in them, DC Comics, the Food Network, smaller channels like Rooster Teeth and Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, all those ones. I mean, who knows? A lot of the times, people just buy the package basically, and they let it run and they get the profit. Other times they come in and they try and improve it or change it. Other times they pull it apart to use all the assets, and then they basically just it's gone. They have no value anymore. I never understand why you buy something, then take it apart, and you throw all the parts around all your companies. It doesn't really make a difference. So a couple of companies have gone that way, but will they do that? Will they keep them together? It's kind of a bit of a shock to a lot of people. Like, no one sort of saw this coming. People were gossiping about merging, and because there's a lot of merging, and because everyone's trying to win the streaming wars. Once upon a time, there was cable networks and syndication, and then the streaming networks came up, like Netflix, which came out of video rentals. Once upon a time, you used to actually mail DVDs back to them and all this sort of stuff. That's how they started. And then they were like the big power. Then everyone else was like, well, why can't we have a streaming service? Well, because people don't want to pay for your streaming service because they've already got Netflix. So then they pulled everything out of Netflix so they could put in their own, and they want to try and make us pay for 50 different services. So instead of having this one great idea of let's just have a service where everyone can stream all the content, and all the companies who didn't have that infrastructure gave the content to Netflix. Now they've all pulled it out and they're all trying to make their own streaming services. And this has been going on for a few years, but it's not really working, because the reason why people abandoned cable and went for Netflix and streaming was because they didn't want to pay a giant cable bill or have 5 cable services. They just had one Netflix and everyone was happy with that. And now they're trying to these idiots who just want to make money and just want to rip us off and think we're stupid and gullible and will just do whatever they market at us, are trying to recreate the same situation but with streaming, where we have like every studio has their own cable, has their own streaming service, just like every studio had their own cable service for a while, and they expect us to pay for them all. Well, no, I don't have a single streaming service at the moment. I used to have Netflix as my so I have a streaming service, and then they kind of burned me with a few things, what was that horrible... No, I'm not going to talk about. So yeah, I don't have anything at the moment, and I have a lot of DVDs. I have about 20 digital TV stations with syndicated shows, which they're all old, but I love them and I don't even have time to watch them. The only issue with that is they don't have the newest shows. So if I want to see a new show like The Queen or The Falcon and Winter Soldier and stuff like that, or Superman and Lois, I have to stream. Well, I don't have to stream, but if I'm gonna be a respectable person and pay for it, I have to stream. As you can see, I don't do anything at the moment, but as I normally stream, I'm not streaming. But yeah, so this is the mess that now we're in. We've got all these companies, they're all panicking, they're all trying to get into streaming. It's not working because no one wants to pay for everything, so no one of them is getting every audience. It's just Netflix is holding on to a certain amount of its viewers. Disney's doing pretty well. And what's interesting now is this new Discovery, and I guess they'll just create a new streaming service and Discovery will just be one of its channels, and they're going to be worth 41 billion or something, so they're going to be bigger than NBC Universal but smaller than Disney, so they'll be the second largest company. So how that will impact everything, because now they've got all this content from Warner Brothers and HBO and all that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like I was listening to Clownfish, and he was predicting when the streaming wars finish, there will only be like 3 or 4 standing. It'll be Netflix, Discovery, Discovery, or whatever this one is, and maybe, what was the 4th one? Amazon. And that's going to be about it. And that seems about right to me, if we're lucky, because no one's going to want to pay for more than that. So the ones that don't make enough money, even if they don't go out of business, they will be like abandoned because they didn't do what they were supposed to. Because like with AT&T, when they bought into Warner Bros., they expected to make a lot of money, and they're not making that money. The only good thing about the whole situation was we got the Snyder Cut out of it, because that was because AT&T had control over Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers didn't want to make the Snyder Cut. AT&T thought they could make money, so they made them make it because they could. And I was hoping that situation would continue and we get more things made for the fans for money, but there's the media backlash of the toxic fans got what they wanted and all this sort of stuff, and that sort of dynamic is happening. So that's a mess, and now they're out. So it looks like Warner Brothers, assuming Mr. Stanky and Jason Kawar, or whatever his name is, are still going to be in charge, the Snyderverse will definitely be dead. We're going to get all the JJ films, and just it's going to be a bit of a dumpster fire for a while until they don't make any money out of that. And then someone realizes that making content that goes against what the fans want and what the audience wants and what the general public wants isn't really productive when it comes to making money. So at some point, hopefully this will change and get fixed. But it's just fascinating, and it's a mess. And I'm mourning Warner Brothers sort of, because I don't believe they're going to stay in one piece. I think they're going to pull them apart, just like they did with, well, they didn't do it, but Disney did it with 20th Century Fox. I don't know who bought MGM, but I don't know. I mean, my DVD still says MGM, and I have 20th Century Fox movies. When I put them in, I still get the dun 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 dun. It's, you know, it's still there, but yeah, it's all gone. I just didn't see this stuff happening. Like when I was younger, I was sitting there, and it never occurred to me there'd be a day where 20th Century Fox doesn't exist, or MGM doesn't exist, or now maybe Warner Brothers doesn't exist. It sort of destabilizes you a little bit, because you sort of have these entertainment franchises and companies that you sort of rely on, and then they just disappear, and it's like just like Star Trek being dead, Doctor Who going down the toilet. It's not dead yet, but it's getting there. Star Wars being a mess. I mean, God, they had a situation there where they released a bunch of books, no one wanted them, and then someone re-released an old book that was never released from the 90s, and it went through the roof. And then they pulled it because, oh God, it's making us look bad because it's selling instead of what we're trying to sell, the High Republic, instead of actually just maybe, I don't know, perhaps licensing it and making money, and then perhaps making more books like that people actually want. Yeah, it's just a mess. Fortunately, I have my own library. I can survive for a while before we have new content, and I can give Hollywood and all these franchises maybe another 5 years to sort themselves out before I start to maybe have to start to watch things twice. It's getting a bit desperate. But But yeah, I'm going to go. This is a longer video than I was planning it to be. I was planning for like 5 minutes maybe, now it's 10. But yeah, feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. Are you mourning these big companies? And I mean, I really love the golden age of Hollywood and just the olden days where they just had, it was sad to see like RKO go. And that was, when did that go? Like in the 50s or something? God, I'm like, not that I was around then. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I just wonder what the landscape's going to look like in 5 years. Bye.